Welcome back to the deep dive. We're plunging into some pretty deep waters today, source materials that really make you rethink, well, everything.
And hopefully resurface with some idea why, your hand might suddenly feel like it's doubled in size.
Exactly. And we'll try to keep it, light, keep the humor because honestly, some of this stuff about reality expanding, it kind of need a laugh.
You definitely do. It helps keep you grounded when talking about fifth dimensional space.
Right. So today you've hit the jackpot. This whole deep dive, it's based on one specific session, session 43 of the early sessions, book 2 of the Seth material.
Recorded way back on Monday, April 13th, 1964.
Yeah, apparently it was a warm, windy spring night, which, I don't know, sounds like the perfect atmosphere for questioning the nature of existence.
It just sets the scene.
Hmm.
But before we dive in, the usual housekeeping.
Oh, right. Got to do that. So this program, just so everyone knows, is totally free. We distribute it on all the major platforms purely for educational purposes.
And we absolutely have to credit the Seth material itself and the publisher, New Awareness Network. Crucial stuff.
Absolutely crucial. Okay, so our mission today, for you listening, think of this as your shortcut. We're jumping straight into the session that formally introduces a really big concept.
A huge one. One of the most, maybe the most powerful tools Seth talks about. The eighth inner sense.
Yeah. And by the end of this, you'll get why scientists talking about the expanding universe might be missing the qualitative picture.
And why maybe ignoring reality's camouflage, as Seth calls it, is actually the key to, well, mastering things.
It sounds wild, but let's get into it. And it starts, like a lot of these sessions, with something very, very human.
Totally relatable. Jane, who Seth calls Ruburt, and Joseph, who's taking the notes, they're dealing with real-life stuff.
Yeah.
Big question.
And Seth just dives right in, addressing the elephant in the room, or rather, the question in the room.
Right. Amidst the warm night, the open window, Willie the dog being surprisingly calm.
Seth kicks off with, and I quote here, "I told Ruburt that he wasn't pregnant, so now I expect that our sessions will be a little smoother again now that he is relieved of the big question."
I mean, talk about breaking the ice. It just immediately grounds everything, doesn't it? Acknowledging that real-world anxiety.
Totally. It validates their, human concerns before launching into metaphysics. It's like, okay, we've dealt with that. Now let's talk about the nature of reality.
It creates that relaxed space needed for this kind of exploration. And that focus, born from relief, leads right into the main event for today.
Yes. The official introduction of something Jane had apparently picked up intuitively before the session even started.
Today, we formally meet the eighth inner sense. Seth confirms the name. Disentanglement.
Okay, section 1. Let's talk about discipline, doubt, and why practice is everything here.
Right, because Seth starts by praising Rubert's discipline, especially given the stress about the, big question.
Yeah, admirable discipline, he calls it. But then, almost immediately, he throws in this curveball. He doesn't want blind followers.
Not at all. He says, and this is another direct quote, "I do not want gullible ninnies. However, I certainly would enjoy being taken at my word occasionally."
I love that line, gullible ninnies. It's such a great way to put it. He wants people to test the material, right?
Exactly. Apply it, wrestle with it, but don't just swallow it whole. It's a call for active engagement, not passive belief.
And he even calls Ruburt doubting Thomas from way back. He sees that skepticism not as a problem, but almost as a prerequisite.
As long as it leads to practice, yeah. That's the key point he makes over and over. The real breakthroughs, the evidence, it has to come from outside the sessions.
It's like reading about swimming versus actually getting in the pool. Theory is one thing, experience is another.
Precisely. And the main stroke we're learning today is this disentanglement. Seth confirms it's one of the most basic inner senses.
Basic but powerful. It's the sense that allows you to, well, separate yourself from the usual physical rules.
He directly links it to things like transportation and levitation, stuff that sounds like science fiction.
But he says disentanglement is what makes those things theoretically possible. It's a consciousness, sort of, unhooking itself from the physical framework we all agree on.
But, and this is a big but, he immediately qualifies it. Complete disentanglement.
Yeah.
Super rare on the physical plane.
Right. He says usually when it happens even a little bit, there's still some remnant of camouflage data involved.
Which brings us smack into this core idea of camouflage. You can't really talk about disentanglement without understanding what you're disentangling from.
So how do you start? If full disentanglement is like the PhD level, what's Intro 101?
Clairvoyance. That's the first step, according to Seth. And he uses Rubert's own recent experiences as examples.
Okay, like what?
Well, first, Ruburt managing to see the time on a clock in another room, eyes closed.
Okay, I can sort of picture that. What else?
And second, an even simpler version, seeing a slip of paper with Joseph's name on it, which was apparently in someone else's apartment.
Let's stick with the clock example for a second, because Seth's explanation there feels really important for understanding camouflage.
It really is.
Yeah.
Ruburt was worried about clock time itself, which Seth says is a type of camouflage. Temporal camouflage.
So seeing the clock wasn't breaking out of camouflage.
Not entirely.
Yeah.
Seth says Ruburt, quote, merely disentangled himself enough to ignore some camouflage in order to perceive camouflage that lay behind it. And this is a necessary first step.
Whoa, okay, hang on. So the walls between the rooms, that's camouflage, obviously, physical barrier.
Right.
But the clock itself, the thing telling the agreed-upon time, that's also camouflage.
Exactly. That's the mind bender. You're ignoring one physical pattern, the wall, to perceive another physical pattern, the clock. You haven't left the system.
You've just shifted focus within the camouflage, like changing the channel, but it's still TV.
That's a great way to put it. You're using inner senses to prioritize a different layer of the agreed-upon reality. It's like selective attention on a metaphysical level.
And that is just step one, seeing the time through a wall.
A necessary first step, yeah.
Yeah.
It gives you a sense of the scale, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If that's step one, imagine what complete disentanglement involves.
It's not just ignoring a wall, it's ignoring everything, the whole structure.
Which loops back to why Seth emphasizes discipline and practice. You have to train those inner senses to consciously pierce these layers. It's the practical application of not being a gullible ninny. You test it.
Okay, so section 2 then. This whole idea that everything physical is camouflage. That's massive.
It's the central pillar, really. The body, object, space, clock, time, all patterns, agreed upon constructs. Camouflage reality.
If it's all just camouflage, why does it feel so solid? Why can't I just, decide this desk isn't camouflage and phase through it?
Well, because of the sheer weight of collective agreement and where we focus our energy and attention, we're deeply, deeply invested in these physical patterns. Seth even says levitation.
Yeah. And what about levitation?
Even that is still caught up in camouflage because it's the physical body, the camouflage form that rises. You're moving the camouflage through camouflage space.
So levitation isn't truly escaping the system. It's just a really impressive manipulation within it, a high-level trick, like you said.
Pretty much. True travel, real disentanglement, would mean moving without the camouflage body. But even then, you're often still moving through what others perceive as camouflage space. It's complex.
But here's the kicker. Seth claims we're already doing this stuff unconsciously.
Right. He says, quote, you move camouflage objects through the use of your inner senses constantly, without your own conscious knowledge.
Okay, let's chew on that. Every time I pick up my mug, every time something falls off a table, that's not just physics. It involves my inner senses manipulating camouflage.
That's the implication. It suggests a much more interactive reality than just Newtonian cause and effect. Our inner state is constantly shaping the physical, even in mundane ways.
So the real power isn't about learning to lift mountains with your mind.
Nope. The trick, Seth says, is not to learn how to move objects, but to recognize the occurrence, and with practice this is possible. It's about becoming aware of the inner mechanisms already at play.
So it shifts from trying to force something externally to developing internal awareness. Recognizing the subtle inner shift when you say, find that perfect parking spot, and then learning to amplify that consciously.
Exactly. And the tools Seth gives, the absolute key for loosening the grip of all this camouflage.
Let me guess. Psychological time.
You got it. Psychological time.
How does that work? How does using psychological time reduce camouflage?
He states it flat out. Its use is extremely important, and that when you really get good at using it, camouflage lessens to an almost astounding degree.
Wow.
Think of psychological time as the native environment for your inner senses. It's where consciousness operates freely outside the rigid sequence of clock time.
So clock time is the camouflage, psychological time is the real operating system, or closer to it.
That's a good analogy, yeah. It's the climate where true reality creation, or at least perception, happens. So learning to live more in psychological time is the path.
And this intense discussion, it gets broken up by Joseph being Joseph.
Classic Joseph. He tries to pin Seth down on details, right? Seth mentions they walked down spring streets together in a past life.
And Joseph jumps in Boston, trying to get a geographical fact.
And Seth gives him this look. Apparently the superior you-should-know-better look refuses to get pinned down by, Camouflage specifics like place names.
Seth resists the linear spatial details, which makes sense given everything he's just said.
Right, and Joseph starts laughing, and Seth uses that moment perfectly.
Yeah, he says, I suggest you take your break before you break me up. Brilliant timing.
It's that humor again, diffusing the intensity, allowing Jane, the medium, and Joseph, the note-taker, a breather.
And it grounds them again, too, because right after that, Seth mentions enjoying Rubert's spring clothes, the windy weather.
He's appreciating the delightful camouflages, even while explaining their illusory nature, which is the perfect bridge, actually, to talk about the cosmos.
Okay, section 3. The really big picture stuff, the expanding universe. Scientists talk about galaxies moving apart, space stretching.
Right, the standard cosmological model. But Seth says, while the universe is expanding, that model, the idea of expanding space like that, is in error.
So expansion is happening, but not like blowing up a balloon.
Exactly. He says the expansion is more like the expansion of an idea or dream.
Okay, that's interesting. A dream can become incredibly vivid, complex, detailed.
But it doesn't take up any physical space, does it? Expansion is in vitality, richness, quality, not volume.
So the universe is expanding in quality.
That's the core idea. And this relates to what he calls fifth-dimensional space, which isn't just another direction like up or sideways.
What is it then?
It's more like the very fabric, the vitality of existence itself. It exists independently of our concept of empty space.
So when scientists measure empty space between galaxies, they're just seeing the absence of our kind of camouflage.
Pretty much. They're not detecting the vitality that's actually there, operating on a different frequency or dimension. This fifth-dimensional space is so alive, Seth says, that our reality is basically woven from it.
And it expands in ways our 3D minds can't easily grasp.
Which brings us to maybe the best metaphor in the whole session. The one Seth uses to really nail this idea for Joseph.
Ah, the painting example. Yes, this is good.
Okay, so imagine two paintings. Same size, same frame, hanging side by side.
Got it.
Painting 1 is simple, basic, never changes. Painting 2, however, it keeps changing internally.
Wow.
Seth describes it vividly. More trees appear, hills get taller, the sense of distance within the painting increases, stretching ever further backward.
But, and this is key, the frame stays the same size. It doesn't bulge out.
Exactly. All this growth, this added complexity and depth, happens within the same fixed dimensions. It doesn't disturb the back of the canvas.
That's, wow, okay, that's qualitative expansion.
Precisely. It's growth in consciousness, vitality, richness, that has, quote, nothing to do with expansion of space in your terms.
So if we're the inhabitants of that second painting, we'd experience a richer, deeper world unfolding, but the container wouldn't seem to change size from an outside view.
Our reality deepens because our collective consciousness, our ideas, our feelings expand. That's the engine of expansion.
And this kind of qualitative growth happens primarily within
Psychological time.
Right.
Most realities, Seth says, grow and exist within psychological time. He calls it a climate or environment conducive to the existence of all consciousness.
It's the medium that allows for this deepening of quality, independent of physical space.
So back to that windy night in the open window. The air Ruburt looks through isn't empty. It's just filled with activity that her camouflage senses aren't tuned to perceive.
It's teeming with other realities operating in that vital fifth-dimensional space.
Exactly. We filter most of it out to focus on our shared physical patterns. What looks like empty space to us might be packed with data for another consciousness system.
And from their perspective, maybe we look like just a weirdly dense patch in their empty space.
Could be. It flips everything. Cosmic expansion isn't about needing more room. It's about becoming more, developing greater quality within the infinite vitality that already exists. Okay, section 4. Let's bring this cosmic stuff right back down to the physical body, specifically Jane's hands.
Ah, yes, the mystery of the swollen hands. Joseph noticed this, right? That sometimes when Jane was channeling really intense stuff, her hands felt fat or enlarged.
Yeah, apparently her wedding ring would get tight. A definite physical thing happening.
So Joseph, being observant, asks Seth about it during the break. Is this connected?
And Seth says yes. It's a physical clue, a tiny hint of a quality called extension.
Extension, like reaching out beyond the normal boundaries.
Kind of. It involves the tissue capsule, Seth says, which is like an energy field surrounding the physical body. This feeling of swelling is that field temporarily pulsating.
It compares it to a pulsation or a beat. It's the inner self, which can change frequencies more freely, causing a slight ripple effect in the physical camouflage.
So when she's channeling high-frequency Seth energy, her physical form momentarily reflects that energetic expansion.
That seems to be the idea, a limited physical echo of a much more profound inner process. Which makes you wonder, those weird physical sensations we sometimes get, a sudden hot flash, ringing ears, feeling heavy or light.
Maybe they're not always just random biology. Maybe sometimes there are micro-manifestations of our inner self-shifting frequency, or extending slightly beyond its usual camouflage limits.
The inner reality tweaking the outer shell. Okay, if that minor adjustment can happen, what does it imply for actually moving the shell, for transportation?
Now we get to maybe the most mind-bending statement of the session. Seth drops this bomb. When or by the time that transportation difficulties are solved, you will no longer need transportation.
Wait, what? All our efforts, faster planes, trains, maybe even teleportation someday, it's all pointless.
Not pointless now, but ultimately obsolete. He's suggesting that by the time we technologically master moving physical bodies quickly through space...
We'll have figured out something better.
Exactly. Because full use of the inner senses disentanglement, psychological time leads to communication and presence so direct, so independent of space.
That physically shipping your body somewhere becomes, quote, an outmoded method of communication.
Wow. True travel with the inner senses isn't about moving a body through space. It's about changing your frequencies or vibrations or pulsations.
You shift your conscious focus, your energetic signature, and you simply manifest or perceive from a different point in that fifth-dimensional climate.
That's the idea. From that perspective, moving a physical body through physical space is actually a kind of distortion. It's the slow, cumbersome way to do it, necessary only because we're locked into the camouflage system.
The dream world operates more like the real way, then.
Much closer, yeah. In dreams, you instantly create and experience environments without moving your physical body an inch.
Your consciousness just goes there.
Right. Because in the dream state, the inner senses are less shielded by the waking world's camouflage. They operate more freely in that fluid psychological time.
So the whole journey is about shifting our primary operating mode from clock time camouflage space to psychological time qualitative space.
That seems to be the core practice. And it's not just abstract theory. Seth brings it right back to Joseph's life at the end of the session.
Oh yeah, the practical advice. Joseph had apparently just decided to ask for more money at his job, Artistic Card Co.
He decided to value himself more, essentially. Stop feeling put upon, which ties perfectly into that idea of qualitative expansion, right? Recognizing your own inner value.
And Seth completely validates this. He says, quote, "Joking aside, you will no longer feel put upon at Artistic, and perhaps you can see now that it would have been perfectly acceptable to have made your demand for more money at a much earlier date, since the demand was certainly justified for value received."
Boom. Direct link. Joseph's inner shift in self-worth, a qualitative expansion, directly impacted his external camouflage situation, his job.
The universe, or at least his corner of it, adjusted to match his increased inner quality. That's a powerful takeaway for anyone listening.
Absolutely. Inner work has outer consequences. Seth also gives a thumbs up to their idea for summer camping trips.
Right, endorsing the need to relax and actually enjoy the physical world, the camouflage.
And of course, he can't resist one last little joke.
The bathing suit comment. He says he's looking forward to summer talks, adding, maybe Ruburt will even wear a bathing suit.
Just a perfect, lighthearted sign-off, a final acknowledgement of the delightful camouflages we live in, even as we learn to see beyond them.
Okay, let's wrap this up. Key takeaways for you, the listener, from this deep dive into session 43.
Number 1, physical reality. It's camouflage. Complex, layered, but ultimately patterns we agree upon.
Number 2, the universe is expanding, but think quality, not just space. Like an idea getting richer, or that painting becoming more detailed within its frame.
Number 3, the key to navigating this, to mastering it, is the 8th inner sense disentanglement. And the main tool for that is psychological time.
And the proof isn't just weird psychic stuff. It can be as practical as recognizing your own value and getting that raise, or maybe just noticing when your hands feel a bit extended.
It really shifts your perspective, doesn't it? The real action isn't moving stuff around outside. It's changing frequencies inside.
So if this talk of psychological time, disentanglement, camouflage reality, if it sparks something for you,
then we definitely encourage you, dive into the Seth material books yourself. Explore these ideas. Wrestle with them.
You can find the early sessions, book 2, and all the other core texts over at the New Awareness Network. Their website and bookstore is sethcenter.com/the early sessions.
It's worth the exploration.
Yeah.
But we have to leave you with one final little mystery from the end of this session.
Oh, right. Joseph's last question.
Yeah.
Just before Seth checks out, Joseph asks him, what are you going to do now? Where do you go?
And Seth's answer is, well, pure Seth. Cryptic. He promises they'll talk about it later, but for now he just says, I am not going to do what you are going to do.
Think about that. If Seth, this consciousness that's fully disentangled, isn't going to do what we do after a session, like, make coffee, stretch, worry about dinner.
What does existence look like from that perspective? What does a consciousness fully free from spatial limits and clock time actually do when it's not focused here?
Yeah. What is non-spatial, non-temporal doing? That's definitely something to chew on.
Until the next deep dive, keep exploring.